Back here on this Thursday morning, I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, tracking a Francine tornado warning until about 9:30 at 8:56 a.m. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located 9 miles northeast point, moving northwest at 15 miles an hour. So we need to get folks into shelter immediately here toward parts of the Big Bend region. Right here, looking in Franklin County, we have a circulation, albeit not really tight at the moment. But it was spinning on up there before the warning got issued. I know these tropical tornado threats are really hard to warn for, and we had some rotation on this here, pretty rural area before the warning got issued, and now it looks to, at least right now, maybe weakening. It could be the angle the radar is looking to, as we are still getting a tornado vortex signature on our Doppler technology, but you can kind of see there right around State Road 65, we started to see a tightening there. Again, very rural territory overall. As we kind of look for any type of debris in there. Let me see if there's anything that's conclusive here. Not really at this point. So that's some good news. We have to just be kind of careful. I know we're watching another area back out here a little bit off to the west of Carabel. We'll pay attention to that. Another area here off of the coast a little bit south of Carabel. We'll monitor that, and then, in the Gulf of Mexico, we're watching some spin here too. But this is all because of what's left of now tropical depression, Francine, that pattern here with this. So you have the system here to the west, but then you have some of the banding features still kind of remain a factor, remaining a problem here this morning. That's why we have this tornado warning in play. And there's a flash flood warning that remains in effect until 12:30 Eastern time. But the tornado warning is the focus right now here across parts of the area. So we'll see how long that warning goes. I know as I'll go over to another perspective here, I just want to see there's a tornado watch, and that's in play for parts of our area, Wakulla, Liberty, and Franklin till 2 o'clock. I don't know if this warning will stay in effect all that long, but we'll probably have more here later on in the day. So I'll be breaking in and going off and coming back on here as conditions warrant, as the situation required. And watching some weak rotation, it didn't look all that tight. It was tighter a few moments ago before the warning got issued, to be quite honest. But things always tough in these situations to warn for. At least I didn't see anything like a clear debris signature. I see our risk area here continues in the yellow, and I'll take off the watch for a moment. That's our risk that, where we have a little greater concern there. As we look ahead later on, I know it could be into the afternoon where we get some of that to get a little bit, more intense here, and we'll watch for that, of course. And then you saw further off a risk as well. But looking here, I know, seeing this the very latest, there's a water spout indication earlier on there around areas not far from Miramar Beach for the west of the area. Then in Walton County, there was a report of a tree down and lawn debris blown on to the road, so that's something worth noting here too. Again, tracking the situation here very carefully. 1 hour rainfall. So in here, some of these areas, 3-4 inches, but that's pretty rural. That's the good news there. I know we also have some storminess to the east, and this pattern, I'll zoom out so you see the red box where the tornado warning is, but there's a flood advisory toward Flagler County and toward parts of the northeast Florida region. Also some just, a pattern here that's been favorable for flooding, continues to be favorable for flooding to some degree. As I know, the system itself, that center circulation in toward Mississippi with a tropical now depressing, but we have the banding features impacting here portions of our area with that tornado warning here in play. A possible tornado in Franklin County here this morning. So we need to get folks into shelter, that interior room away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Protect yourself from flying debris, that potential there, that flying debris potential, by putting on a bicycle helmet, football helmet, something like that. I know that's important to do in this set of circumstances. and just going to continue to watch the progression of things. I'll go ahead and put the infrared satellite on here. You see how things are, honestly looking more like a severe weather setup, they would see in a different time of year than a tropical cyclone here at this point. That's kind of interesting. And then we have our significant tornado parameters here, close to a 1, which is not overwhelming, but that's definitely noteworthy still. Tornado potential in play here. This yellowish color, and it's even in orange higher to the west. But then we have instability here. You see some of that just nudging in. I mean, over 1,000, right at the coast, which is substantial, but lesser as we get further in. But there's still some of that upwards of 500 joules per kilogram further up, almost, into ward areas. I mean, as you look close toward even the Bainbridge, but even dipping into southwest Georgia and south central Georgia some, nonetheless, if it's not maybe even coming quite in, toward that city. But again, I just continuing to track all of this. We have to just keep on monitoring the scenario here, trying to let you know exactly what's happening. Trying to give you the latest details. Again, this is a very rural area out here where we have the tornado warning, but it's our policy to be on whenever there's a tornado warning storm within the 62 counties here. We're looking there at Franklin County. I know we're not seeing much of a threat of this here, as we get to our eastern counties here today, but I-75 West is where we'll be watching. That's the focal point, and maybe even just a little further west is where the real focal point is right now with the tornado watch. I mean, you can narrow it down even further just for the next several hours, probably just the 3 counties in yellow, is where the greatest concern lies. But eventually we'll probably see an expansion of that, and, I-75 West will be that area where we're watching. So, again, I'm just trying to give you the very latest here. It's at 9:09 on this Thursday morning. This is September 12th, 2024. Again, tracking things here temperature-wise, 70s, 80s, the story here. And just going to continue to monitor the progress of the activity. You see our low pressure further off toward the north and west. And then that fetch of moisture here, you have this debating feature. Here in our area, we have some of that, another one further back toward the west. So definitely worth noting here this morning as we continue to give you the very latest to protect you, your friends, and your family. We're just going to keep checking on this tornado warning here till 9:30. Some rotation, but again, a very rural area. As we continue to indicate, and honestly, looking at velocity, it would seem, I mean, even on this, it kind of says it, but on here, it looks like if we had anything, it'd be just right on the edge of the polygon now. So they may drop this warning pretty quick. They could, I guess, in theory, issue another one further off to the east, but we shall see. I mean, there's a little something there. There's something further back toward the east here as well, even, further over on that back side. When we're watching the Gulf, there's a lot of lightning, especially for something to do with a tropical system. As we look further out, that's pretty far off the coast, and those aren't directly headed in right now. Those areas of rotation that look pretty strong. Let's go ahead and get that forecast model up here on the screen again, like we were doing earlier on in our update. When we were on giving you the latest earlier on this morning with the other tornado warning in Franklin County. Let me go ahead and get that updated here for you guys, the viewers at home. As the situation does arise here, just gonna kind of get an idea on what's happening. And let me go ahead and kind of do that. So we'll kind of start our model off here at 10 a.m. As we kind of look. Okay, they canceled the tornado warning. So that's good news. The tornado warning for Franklin County has been canceled quite a bit earlier than when it was set to expire for at 9:30. So that's what we like to see. But still want to go over the model data before we wrap this cut-in up, this live coverage up. But we're going to go ahead and you see here 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You see some more stuff in the Big Bend at that point. More organized convection. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We'll have to see how much daytime heating we get. The more we get, the more danger we could have. And, that would, be in the form of some tornadic activity, some wind damage, from straight line wind and flash flooding potential as well. That's 5 o'clock. We're in McCulloch County, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Again, no formal update tonight because we're going to be just on standby here in alert mode. But 10 o'clock, we'll be on as necessary through the day like we're doing right now into the night. However long it takes, whether that's in tomorrow as well. But as you see here, that's 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 a.m., kind of towing that weather story. So let me go ahead and put on what the model is projecting here over the 6-hour period with rainfall total potential. This shows maybe in a half foot in parts of Taylor County and later on tonight. But what I need to do is I need to go ahead and move this further back here real quick to kind of give you an idea on what's happening in terms of just the overall scenario here with rainfall over 6 hours. So, looking here at this, you kind of see the progression. You really see how things feel around the Big Bend later. This gets you here. This projection, this is just one model, but it's showing a half foot or more. But it's showing 7-8 inches of rain in a 6-hour period around South Choppy here. That goes from about noon to 6 o'clock today, give or take. So that's going to be a area of concern as we kind of look at things here. That kind of shows that coastal rainfall, in areas just off the coast with, several inches of possibility. It's not going to set up exactly like that, of course. It's just an idea of what could happen here. But again, continuing to watch the situation. Let me see if there's any questions or comments here real quick from any of the viewers at home. I don't see anything right now. And again, we'll be wrapping it up here very shortly since there's no active tornado warnings in the area. One thing I'd like to see right now is some of the training of this rain has kind of moved away from some of this box here. You can see still about 3 inches in an hour, but Apalachicola especially not necessarily in the flow of moisture right now, so that's good. But we're going to have to just watch through the day here. I know some of this rain around Tallahassee could be, helping to keep things a little more stabilized here. That could be, better for us in terms of a lower severe threat. And in some instances, some areas, you see about Austin, it's still pretty warm, but again, not, maybe as much instability if you get more of that rain out ahead, but it's still tricky with tropical setups. Yeah, mid-upper 70s around Palm Coast. There's some rain coming off the Atlantic. That's just the overall pattern there, but definitely could have some flooding concern in that regard. So I know we're watching the storm system. You see, okay, we just got a new tornado warning, so we're not going anywhere. But there's the storm system. I know we're watching that advance further off. They're generally north, but a little eastward there. But then back to the east, we have a new tornado warning now just popping in. So this is to 9:45 for parts of Franklin and Liberty. At 9:14, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located there 10 miles northwest of Carabel, moving north at 25 miles an hour. Mainly rural areas of Liberty and Franklin, but includes the following locations: Morgan Place and Owens Bridge. So we could have a rain-wrapped tornado here, not out of the question, so take those tornado precautions. We're seeing the rotation intensify now, and a tornado could be occurring here very quickly in this area. This does include parts of Franklin County, but then also parts of Liberty County until 9:45. Again, a possible tornado. No debris signature, which is a good sign. It's a little closer to the radar than some of the others. So if we had even a weaker tornado, it'd probably suck there a little bit. But again, we have a new tornado warning now. So let's go ahead and bag this up. We had a tornado warning further back to the west on this area, but now, more in line with that newest hook. That newest hook echo there. So on up, we have a tornado warning for parts of Franklin and Liberty counties now until 9:45. So at 9:14, we had a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 10 miles northwest of Carabel, moving north at 25 miles an hour. So watching it carefully, but it is in a very rural area. I'm going to look at some information here behind the scenes just to give you an idea of just how rural it is. Granted, even one person in the warning is, cause for concern for us here at home. But okay, so I say one person. I thought that might happen when I went over to other source. Our system is telling us there's zero in the warning in terms of population, and zero people, zero schools, zero hospitals. But nonetheless, part of our area, the last tornado warning also had a zero population, but somebody could be driving, possibly in the vicinity at least. Let's see if we have any key roads in here. We may not even have any key roads, but I mean, honestly, there might not really be anything hardly out here, but nonetheless, as part of our area, we have to be on here. It's our policy, and other stations follow similar policies here at times as well. So again, I'm just trying to give you the very latest here with what's going on. Looking here, I mean, earlier on we had a tornado warning in our area that did include about 4,000 at one point. I mean, 5,000, 6,000, depending on how you look back at it. Again, a tricky situation here, and not exactly no population officially, but nonetheless, we have a tornado warning here in play until 9:45 for parts of Franklin and Liberty. About 55, 60-mile-an-hour winds going away from the Tallahassee radar. And then we have, as we look at things, I'm just zooming out here to get better perspective. We have wind there of about 12 miles an hour going toward the Tallahassee radar. So some rotation in here for sure this morning. We have to be on for these tornado warnings, even though, again, even in our area, even though there's technically no population here. But again, this is in our area. And we want you guys, if there's anybody in here anyway, taking those tornado precautions. So again, tornado warning in play of a tornado watch as well. So since it's not affecting many or hardly any folks, let's kind of just go over some tips here. Tornado watch means conditions favorable for tornadic activity, so stay tuned for the latest updates. I have multiple ways to receive alerts. But when a tornado warning is issued, that means a tornado has been detected using radar or spotted. You want to seek shelter inside a sturdy building. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet, football helmet, something like that. So very important to keep in mind here this morning. And you just gotta keep that in the back of your mind here, that you might need to take these tips into account at some point. So again, we have a tornado warning in effect till 9:45. Now let me go ahead and go back to the Doppler here again. No population officially in this, but it is tightening up. Plus, if there's any debris, nothing definitive there, but we'll keep on watching, keep on monitoring it. I know Tallahassee getting light to moderate rain. Same with Crawfordville right now. We have some more action in the Gulf here. We'll have to watch as this stuff tries to come onto land to see if it starts to spin up. Sometimes when you see it encounter the friction of the land, we have an issue. So you can see back in the Gulf, we have some areas of spin and wind energy, wind enhancement. We'll monitor all that here for you. Again, I'm just trying to give you the very latest. And then, again, since we don't have, just a whole bunch of people with that, I want to go to the broader picture again. We're going to go ahead and show you here, you see the temperatures and the like. Pretty warm out there, here in the Sunshine State and in South Georgia. You see some flash flood warnings around Jackson, Mississippi. The northern side of that storm system going further north, but the center is further south of Mississippi. It's a little further north than where the point is here because that's from the earlier track update from 5 a.m. It is a tropical depression now, not a tropical storm. But the tornado threat further off toward the south and east per se here with this storm system. So definitely worth noting here. Definitely worth monitoring. In the last 12 hours or so, rainfall-wise, you see areas there. I mean, you see Lake Pontchartrain. You see the North Shore at that time frame more in the South Shore, I would say, but they really got hit right around New Orleans and the South Shore of Lake Pontchartrain. There was a lot of flooding at Kenner, New Orleans. So we had a flash flood emergency last night, and it just didn't go back far enough necessarily. And at least the rain's out of the way now. It didn't last a long time. These are really high rainfall rates, and there were some issues with the water not really receding very quick, so causing some problems there. We're lucky we didn't have those rates for like 2 or 3 times as long, because I know it was catastrophic in some spots, but it could have been much worse if we would have had, like that type of rain rate hanging around for, several more hours and what ended up happening. So, and that can happen and has happened before in tropical setups. So, got to always be prepared as we go back over toward the east here now. You can kind of see as we look. I try to give you the very latest on some of this. I want to go back to the modeling, and I want to take this out even a little bit further now. Of course, we'll leave the red box up and the green box where the flash flood warning is, and the other one over Walton County where there's a flash flood warning for that in the Panhandle there. But again, I'm going to try to go to our full run, and that latest, 12Z run isn't all the way in the system, so I need to go back a little bit, and then we'll go back to go forward on the modeling. So that's your rainfall, maybe up until around noon, possibly a 6-hour estimate on totals, but that's not where I really wanted to go too much. This is our forecast model, and I want to go out even further. I know we've said you today, and we got to really watch the afternoon hours, maybe even more so in the Big Bend, if we can get some conditions to stabilize a little bit more, even just a little bit of, energy enhancement could really, ramp things up. We saw it in Elsa a few years back, where it really had some problems because of some energy really coming into play, breaks in the bands, and we had a significant tornado threat on the first coast in that evening hour, and there's evening hour and same for southeast Georgia. As we look here, this is 5 o'clock, 6, today 7, 8, 9, 10. No, we're not going to have a full update tonight, so I wanted to kind of get in toward that Friday, because there's some interest in high school football around, and this give you an idea of what could happen in terms of the conditions. So you see, look at Tallahassee tomorrow morning. That's 9 a.m. That could be a flooding threat here, folks. I know we had a flooding threat in April. That was substantial. We had the tornadoes in May. In April we had folks, getting their cars destroyed by flooding. That type of pattern there. I don't like seeing that. I mean, it didn't show it amounted to, an overwhelming amount at that point there, but could have some severe warnings on this. I mean, that gets you, that's 1 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah, this is tomorrow, folks. This is 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 on that Friday, 8 o'clock. Maybe it clears out some for high school football, or like Starkino. Maybe the biggest regular season game played in Bradford County in high school football, this century at least. I mean, against Mandarin coming down from Jacksonville. The eyes of the Jacksonville region on that game for sure tomorrow night. About the biggest regular season home game for Bradford that you can think of. And, hopefully the weather, clears on out. We'll see. It's not, something that we can guarantee by any stretch. In some areas probably will be impacted by delays for high school football, unfortunately. And then you see 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. You do see some clearing in, so maybe that'd be a good sign. And we have to watch out for FSU football, the weather on that Saturday for that. We have to watch out there for Gator football, weather, down toward the swamp at 3:30 against Texas A&M. It's noon for FSU against Memphis. I know we have a tornado warning right now, so I don't want to get too much into sports, but FSU and Florida, but even FSU probably more so because they haven't won a game yet. Really needs that win on Saturday. It might not happen. Memphis is a real tough team, but Florida there, they did get a win against the FCS opponent, and we'll kind of see how they play the quarterbacks. But let's go ahead and say here, you can see around that 14th at about 8 a.m., 11 a.m., maybe some rain around. This is 2 p.m. on Saturday. I went to the broader brush because we don't have the formal, high-res models in play this far out. but we'll continue to watch the situation. So what I need to do right now, actually I'm going to do one more thing. We'll go back to tornado warning in a minute. Again, there's not any population. We need to be on here in case something, escalates on us. But again, let me go ahead and go to the modeling real quick. High res, it's not the most high res, but this is the NAM for 11 a.m. on Saturday. And, oh, wait a minute, try that again. That was the GFS. Let's try the NAM now. Okay, that's the NAM 3 kilometer. This is the NAM 12 kilometer. 3 kilometer is pretty high res, but that's really getting on the edge of the science. This one here is not as high res, and it says so some potential for issues. And that does too. I know it's not forecasting the lightning, that lightning is right now, but you get the idea. Okay, back to the current tornado warning. It's just, there's literally, in our system, it's showing 0 population in here. So that's why I'm not hitting it quite as hard as I generally would. But again, we have tight rotation on this mode of it. As we go ahead and say you showed your velocity for a second, it didn't look as impressive in some way. It looked more broad to me. Yeah, that was tightening up there that really tightened up there a few minutes ago. But I mean, again, there's literally, we're not seeing any population. There could be somebody out here maybe. So you gotta be taking shelter, keep your room away from windows. But in this type of setup, I don't even know if there'd be a place to do that really. To be quite honest, this is very, very rural out here. Again, literally the whole warning, box, according to the geography from the Weather Service, it literally in the whole red box here, there's nobody that lives here, 0. But it's part of our area, so we have to stay on the air here. We can always take a break for a few minutes if we need to, and if this really starts to draw out here longer, then we may very well do that and just go off for a few minutes. We'll keep the stream going, of course, and then come back. It's just in a very, a very rural area. As rural as it gets, with literally no population, obviously no hospitals or schools in here. So, again, just continuing to watch the situation, continuing to monitor it here in toward the weather center. And we didn't see any debris, luckily, on there, on debris tracker. Because, you have trees out here, so it's still some debris, even if it's not like hidden homes or, vehicles or something like that. You still get a debris signature on this. It might actually be a little bit more, well-defined because of the tree structure and the like. But we're not getting that right now, so that's good news as we continue to give you the very latest here on all of this, on this tornado warning situation, Franklin and Liberty counties, until about 9:45 this morning. So, just continuing to watch the very latest here, continuing to give you the very latest to protect you, your friends, your family. I know we're watching the stuff further off to see, if that kind of ramps up more. Further out, we do have some areas of rotation we have to watch whenever we have these little interactions. Look like a little bit of something trying to up in here. But in here, we actually did have it tight, as tight as we've seen in our area this morning. But again, there's no population out here. Again, I was showing winds there, though, about, let's do the math, 55 and 35. That's 80 miles an hour worth of wind. But again, we look at it here, and it's just trees. So again, and that's very good news, obviously. So again, just continuing to watch this. You see Tallahassee, light to moderate rain there in Leon County. Be careful on the roads. They'll be slick out there this morning. And the situation does progress here as this scenario does evolve on us. Again, when we started this stream, we had the one warning for Franklin. This one in toward Liberty here. This one, again, just trying to let you know exactly what we're dealing with. I'm trying to monitor, try to help you guys out. Again, we have a tornado warning in the red box. And we have some spinning here right near that Franklin, Liberty County line. Again, this is not right now, though, around folks. It doesn't seem, unless somebody's just out here. I'm just going to continue to check some information here behind the scenes. Bear with me here. It's all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. Again, not seeing anything necessarily new in terms of information at this point in time, but things can always change on us here pretty quickly as we continue to watch. And do want to check some power outage numbers behind the scenes here. And in Louisiana right now, I mean, nothing like Beryl was in Texas, but still problematic. And we're talking about here a decent number in the dark. I'll broaden our maps out again. I'll broaden our maps out and kind of say here what's going on and talk about how there's 379,139 customers still in the dark in Louisiana right now, 58,529 in Mississippi, and then in parts of Alabama, about 15,179 customers. Florida, not really getting any direct, core. Obviously, you weren't getting any core impacts, from this impacts from the core of Francine. We've had this tornado threat. I know I haven't had any like tornado warnings for Madison County. I do see 589 customers out there, but none out in Leon, none out in Gadsden, 2 out in Jefferson, none out in Wakulla, none out according to information and from Paradise.us and Liberty, and only 3 customers in the dark in Franklin County right now, where we have, the bulk of the concerns. So again, just continuing to watch all this. You can see here that slower movement. You can see how the icons get closer together. The one from 4 a.m. Central Time, then you have tomorrow and the night, and then, I mean, this is a 12-hour period where the low's not going to be moving much, so that's going to keep the axon down in here, hanging around more than you would like. But also could have a floating thread here depending on how this kind of, hangs around how much it stays organized. So, the winds have weakened pretty quick with the core. The pressure's still pretty low out there overall. I know that barometric pressure, I'll go ahead and check that here for you guys. And it was at 996 millibars in the last update with the present movement of the storm north-northeast at 12 miles an hour. So again, just continuing to give you the latest here. We're trying to keep you guys up to date. I know, this is not directly, really connected, but it's the overall pattern. We're getting quite a bit of heavy rain in Flagler County right now. Quite a few folks obviously do live in that area, and we're seeing, half inch of rain or more in the last hour. There's a flood advisory in play toward Flagler County. We've had just countless flood advisories and even aerial flood warnings here lately. And the pattern, that one goes to 10:30. We don't really focus on too much unless they're flash flood warnings like what we have in Franklin and Liberty. But just to make a note of that, of course, you can have river flood warnings as well and the like that, will show up as a product that won't go off like on your phones or anything like that. But still, can be an issue. I mean, I'm talking about when they don't really go off on your phones unless you have certain types of apps. I mean, but otherwise, you're only going to get something like an emergency alert from a flash flood warning when it's a considerable or catastrophic threat. So as we go ahead and look, I know they used to do it for the base ones, but they don't anymore. Just kind of adding to that point. But see the tornado warning updated. They canceled Franklin now, and there's a box. They're still keeping this for part of Liberty. 13 miles north of Carabel, moving north at 15 miles an hour is where this threat is. So, again, kind of the storyline there. Again, no population in here still, according to the numbers. And it's very broad looking, but let's go ahead and kind of, give you an idea if there were to be something that tightens up. Granted, I don't know that it would because we're getting further from the instability. And, by the way, I will mention too, have all of Liberty in this. And not saying that we definitely could have something further up or even outside of watch. It's just they can't issue a watch for half a county. If they could, they might just issue it further close to the coast because of the lack of instability. But this looks very, very, diffuse and weak here at this point. There's some wind in here, don't get me wrong, but not really looking tornadic. But if this were to, hold together, Smith Creek might have to watch that here pretty carefully, where there would be some folks. But let's go to instability mode here. on our other source just to kind of get an idea, since we're not on, whenever there's not tornado warnings. So let's kind of break this down here. I know as we look, of course, this tornado warning reminds me of stuff you get down in like South Florida there when you have things, in the middle of nowhere, in between the, very highly populated areas. I mean, I'm talking about like, western Broward County, for instance, and the like. But you can see here instability. We have a good bit around Gainesville and, Jacksonville, Palatka. If we were to get some of those numbers further west with the shear, that could be a problem. We'll have to watch that, and you see more of that shear. Honestly, it might need to be more in Liberty, but that's going to move off to the east some. I mean, because, you don't see that extended as much. That's energy. This is your tornado parameter, and we don't have much of that, on Tallahassee. I mean, you kind of see why, even the models are showing it, is not necessarily, arriving here. And then we do have some supercell composite, but, if we had more of the tornado parameter and energy, then they'd have the watch there. They don't have it because of that, though. So, real quick, I know, just to give you an example, we're talking about how some areas can be really populated and some not. Well, this is just an example. This isn't directly to do with what we're talking about. I just wanted to zoom down here because it's just, how rural some areas are in our area. You see Fort Lauderdale, all these people, but look, western Broward County is the middle of nowhere. There's I-75, and you have the same in some of these other counties down here. But the point is, it's the middle of nowhere. We have this tornado warning right now. So that's why I've been treating it with a little less urgency than I generally would. So again, we're watching that here though, just in case it does get into some population. I didn't really see any, big roads out there, as we're looking at things, but we'll just continue to watch. I mean, way out in the Gulf, and that's a marine interest. I mean, in theory, you might, have a pretty equal chance of having people out there with under the marine warning. Bowden, where that rotates in is way off the coast. It might be something to watch later. You may have about a big enough chance of having people out there as you do in the current tornado warning. So that's kind of interesting to put that in perspective. But off of Panama City here, you do see, a lot of lighting. That's a ton of lighting for it to be involved with a tropical system, off of Panama City. Now, not all this is necessarily headed as far east as it generally would in like a severe weather setup. I mean, there is decent easterly movement, but it's more northerly than you generally see, in, a non-tropical setup, really. So, again, just continuing to watch and continue to monitor. Again, just trying to let you know what's going on here. Trying to keep you guys safe and informed. So again, it's 9:40 right now is the time on this Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, and we're just trying to keep you up to date. So, okay, they're saying they're expiring the tornado warning, but they're not canceling it. So I got to stick with this a little longer here. But again, when they cancel it, it's gone right off right then. But when they expire it, it technically goes to 9:45. But I mean, they're gonna be seeing stuff like, the storm threat here, has been minimized. So, and they gotta watch out for rain wrap stuff too. And some of these not as much. But again, just continuing to give you the very latest. You can see here our storm system. Let me go ahead and go back to the broad view here. Again, temperature to see around 80 around Jacksonville. You see just north of the center where we've had the heaviest, concentrated downpours with more flash flood warnings further off toward the south. Southeastern quadrants where we had the, greater severity because we have the instability more down there mixing with the tornado parameters. Of course, we have a tornado watch in play until 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central in the yellow outlined area. So just make sure you have multiple ways to get alerts here. We could see an expansion of that later on. I know we'll be monitoring it all for you here in toward the Weather Center. And it's always our policy to be on for the 62 counties here. with tornado warning storms. You see the yellow zone, that's a slight risk of severe weather. Could have a tornado watch getting further east. And even in the dark green, watches warnings not out of the question here. And even light green, we could get a rogue warning, but lesser chance of that there. And we're going to have to watch the threat lingering into Friday, believe it or not. We kind of see that in the model, but there's a marginal risk for wind in our area at this point. Wind damage, not so much the tornado threat, but that could always get added at some point, depending on how things evolve today. I know we're in Bradford County, but Franklin, Liberty, 2 of the 62 counties here, so again, I'm just trying to stay on top of everything. Just trying to make sure you're mindful of what is going on. Just trying to be, here for you guys as the conditions do warrant. So again, just checking the latest here. May go to a different radar review in a second. Bear with me. Just want to see what we got here. Try to change things up from time to time so you kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with. Again, just continuing to watch things. You see the Gulf of Mexico here. We have this accent, gotta just keep watching. And the accent tries to potentially be problematic at points in this area. Most concerned I'm probably right now, but it's way out in the Gulf still. I'll just measure. It's not going to necessarily hit right that way, but it's over 40 miles away from Carabel. So it's pretty far away, obviously. At this point in time. Just continuing to track everything here for you. See quite a bit of pretty heavy rain around Palm Coast and Beverly Beach, Flagler Beach. Not a good beach day. Here setting up in some of our area. Not good right now for sure. At points you'll be better off, of course, with the overall weather, but right now not so much there. Again, we'll be on top of things as needed. I know there's flash flooding toward Walton County outside of our area. Report there from the Sheriff's Office of flooding on US 98 in Santa Rosa Beach. 2 eastbound lanes shut down due to flooding. And you see the light rain around here towards some of our areas. Definitely reaching the ground. I was curious to double check that, but definitely reaching the ground. And, that, could help stabilize things. They're not going to threat as far off, but in a tropical setup, sometimes things can still get going here. But the greatest concern right now lies in those areas in our region of Liberty, Franklin, Wakulla. Greatest overlap of wind shear and energy, but you have more potential further west right now because you do have, a bigger expanse of the wind shear characteristics, and then, it doesn't take maybe as much energy when you have, in some cases, higher, values here, even with the tornado parameters. So, and I'll pull up Supercell Composite, and that kind of tells that story too. So, it's going to do it. That's going to do what I should say for now. We're going to continue to watch things here and be here as necessary, but I'm going to wrap the stream up for the time being. Thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. We'll be here through the day, through the night, into tomorrow, into Saturday if it takes that, hopefully not. But we'll be here to guide you through it for any local tornado warnings within our 62 counties. So, thanks so much for tuning in, trusting me for now. Stay safe out there, and we'll be back here again as weather conditions do warrant.